Welcome back, folks. So, The Secret Garden, a wonderful story for children and for adults. For children, it's a little adventurous story about robins that can talk to you or think to you, and other animals and magical characters and all of that. And to older folks, it's a welcome reminder of the ability for us to renew ourselves, for new beginnings. And spring represents that, blossoming gardens represent that, and we have spring right around the corner out there. So we've got that to look forward to. Yeah, I know that. But at least it's not like December 1st or something we also ahead of us. Remember that? Yeah, I don't remember that. At any rate, so The Secret Garden, wonderful soloist, choir, narration, the whole bit. It's a condensed version of the story, but I'd like to think that the essence is there. And I know one thing: these performers are really essence forward. So enjoy. And thanks again for being a great audience all year long.
Lived in India with her mother and father, but her father was always busy, and her mother never really wanted her. Mary's mother would rather go to tea with her friends and military balls with her husband. Her parents ordered the servants to give Mary whatever she wanted, as they couldn't be bothered by their daughter. Mary was sickly and almost always stayed indoors. She grew to be thin, pale, selfish, and spoiled. One hot morning, when Mary was 9 years old, her servant did not come to dress her as usual. She overheard her mother talking with an army officer. Mary's mother was very beautiful and always wore elegant dresses, but this morning, her mother looked scared. "Is it so very bad?" Mary heard her say to the officer. "Awful," he answered. Mary listened as the officer explained that the disease called cholera had broken out. Just then, a terrible wail came from the servants' quarters, and Mary's mother clutched the man's arm. "I'm afraid someone has died," whispered the officer. The next morning, Mary awoke, and the house was deserted. She wasn't feeling alone or afraid, just angry that no one was coming to give her breakfast and dress her. Suddenly, a man she had never seen before opened the door. He was horrified to see her. "Why was I forgotten?" she said, stomping her foot. "Poor little thing," he said. "There's nobody left." Mary was sent to live with the vicar's family until she could be taken back to England. She was not well liked there and fought constantly with the 5 children. Mary, quite contrary, as the vicar's children referred to her, was relieved when news came that Mrs. Medlock was arriving and would accompany her there to Misselthwaite Manor, where she would live with her uncle, Mr. Archibald Craven. Mary was afraid, but at the same time she felt strangely at peace, as if she were being beckoned to her new home. Mary was taken across the moorland to her new home. It was winter, and the moorland looked quite lonely and frightening through the train's windows. Mrs. Medlock said to Mary, "You're going to a strange new place, lass. Misselthwaite Manor is a giant, gloomy house that is 600 years old and has nearly 100 rooms. Mr. Craven won't take any notice of you. He won't take any notice of you. He sees no one. He was born with a hunched back, and until he married Lily, he was as miserable a person as you could ever meet. Mary asked, what was Lily like? Mrs. Medlock's expression changed, and she seemed to smile through her eyes. Finally, she answered Mary, she was the loveliest young thing, an angel really. She brought Miss Misselthwaite to life as never before. Aye, with her flowering gardens, it became one of the loveliest places in England. But alas, now that Lily's dead, Master doesn't care about anybody at all. He's miserable again, an unkind man who doesn't even care about life anymore. What about Miss Misselthwaite? Mary asked. What about my new home? Is it still lovely? Ah, Mary, said Mrs. Medlock. I'll be sad to tell you that it too is dead. Nothing more than a haunted place, empty of life. When they finally arrived at the manor, Mary had never felt so alone and afraid. Mary entered the big old house behind Mrs. Medlock. It was cold, and the candle that Mrs. Medlock carried flickered as they climbed great stairwells and walked through long, dark corridors. Mary grabbed Mrs. Medlock's arm as she heard a distant scream that was followed by what seemed to be crying. It's just the wind working its way through these old hallways here. Don't you be fretting. You'll be hearing a lot more of that, you will, said Mrs. Medlock. Soon, Mary met her maidservant, Martha Sowerby. Martha was about Mary's age, and at first, Mary demanded that she do this and that, just as she had done with the servants in India. The very first morning at Misselthwaite, Mary ordered Martha to dress her. Martha was absolutely astonished at what she had just been asked. She curtly replied, "Miss Mary, I'll not be dressing you. Are you a wee one? I should think not. I'll be cleaning your room, making your fire, bringing your meals. That will be that." Mary was given strict orders not to go wandering inside Misselthwaite Manor. Of Of course, Mary was more accustomed to giving orders and had never taken them before. So each day she would explore the mysterious mansion. One day, Mary was startled to see a man standing in the hall looking at her. And it was her uncle Archibald's brother, Dr. Craven. He introduced himself to Mary and asked how she was getting along. Mary told him that she hears terrible screams and crying in the night and asked him if he knew where they were coming from. "Just the wind, Miss Mary. Don't you worry yourself about that." He continued, "My dear, you look very pale and thin. Why don't you go outside and get some exercise? It will do you good." Mary did just that. She went outside each day and noticed that she was eating more, had more energy, and was happier than she'd ever been. Her maidservant Martha, the two of them had now become fast friends, also noticed a change in her complexion. Her cheeks were rosy, and her appearance was no longer pale and weak. At once, Dr. Craven wanted to find his brother. When he arrived at his room, Archibald was gazing listlessly out the window as he noticed Mary exploring the grounds of Misselthwaite Manor far below. "Brother, you have to meet this girl. This little Mary Lennox is a beautiful child. She seems to have Lily's eyes. It's as if Lily's spirit is coming home to Misselthwaite Manor."
She has her eyes, the girl has Lily's hazel eyes, those eyes that saw me happy long ago, those eyes that gave me life and hope I never known. How can I see this girl and miss those hazel? She has her eyes, the girl has Lily's hazel eyes, those eyes that closed and left him all alone, those eyes I feel will never ever let him go. How can he see this girl who has her hair? She has her eyes, she has my Lily's hazel eyes, those eyes that saw me happy long ago. How can I now forget that once I dared to be in love, alive and whole, in Lily's eyes?
One day, while Mary was exploring the manor grounds, she discovered a great wall and wondered what was behind it. So she asked old Ben Weatherstaff, the gardener, if he knew what was there. "Aye," he said, "it's Miss Lily's garden. When Miss Lily died, Master Craven locked it up and hid the key. It's been locked up for 10 years now and no one's been in there. It will stay that way too, Miss Mary. Master's orders." Mary thanked Ben and skipped away. Suddenly, a robin landed on the ground right next to Mary. She was startled and stepped back. The robin just looked up at her, cocked its head, and cheerfully chirped. Mary couldn't help but giggle. Then he jumped a few feet forward and turned back to look at Mary as if to say, "Follow me." She did. Mary knew that she had made another new friend. "Robin, where are you leading me?" Jump, jump, jump. Mary continued to follow Robin. Finally, the friendly bird began to peck at the ground. Mary decided to help her new friend dig the earth to see what was there. Then suddenly, there it was, a large key. Was it for the garden gate? It fit. The large rusty door groaned as she struggled to push it open. Then she and Robin went inside. This was surely a sign, a miracle. After 10 years of being closed, they were finally in the secret garden. Everything seemed dead, but there they were. She and Robin had done it. Mary said to Robin, "This is our secret now. Somehow you and I will make this garden beautiful again." Mary explored the garden, and even though she was still very happy and excited, she did notice that everything seemed dead. Very, very dead. What could she and Robin possibly do to help it grow? To help it live again? Then, Robin suddenly flew off. Mary wondered why her new friend had flown off. After a long while, she heard Robin again. She turned around and couldn't believe what she saw. There was Robin, all right, and he was perched on the shoulder of a young boy, maybe just a bit older than she. Around her were several small animals, a baby fox, a squirrel, 2 rabbits, and other woodland creatures. Robin, this was to be our secret, said Mary. And who is this boy? And why are all of those animals standing about you? How did you get here? Dicken replied, Robin came to get me. He said that you needed my help. My name is Dicken. Who are you? I am Mary Lennox, Master Archibald Craven's niece. Why are those animals standing by you? The animals are my friends, and they want to be your friends, just like Robin, said Dicken. They know you're a good soul. I'll keep your garden a secret, and together we'll make it grow again. With a troubled expression, Mary looked at Dicken. But look, Dicken, everything in this garden must have been so beautiful, but now it is all dead. We cannot make it grow again. Aye, Mary, said Dicken, we can help it grow again, because this garden's wick. What's wick? With that, Dicken took a stick that looked as dead can be. He broke it in 2 and showed Mary the very small streak of green within it. He said, now that is wick. It shows that there is life within it, and it wants to be awakened. Unknown to Mary, Dr. Craven saw the whole thing from the window of a closed-off room high atop the mansion. How good it would be for Mary, he thought, if his brother Archibald would give his blessing. She needed to have a garden of her very own. He went to his brother's quarters and, without mentioning Lily's garden, asked if he would grant the young girl a bit of earth to make into her very own garden. The request pained Mr. Craven because it reminded him of his wife Lily and her love of growing things.
A bit of her, she wants a little bit of her, she'll plant some seeds. The seeds will grow, the flowers bloom, but is their bounty what she needs? How can she chance to love a little bit of her she doesn't know? The earth is old and doesn't care if one small girl wants things to grow. She needs a friend. She needs a father, brother, sister, mother's arms. She needs to laugh. She needs to dance and learn to work her girlish charms. She needs a home. She really needs, I cannot give. Instead she asks a bit of earth to make it live.
That night, once again, Mary was awakened by loud howls and screams. She trembled as she reached to light her candle. This time, she thought, I will find out what it is. All of her exercise and outdoor adventures had made Mary very strong and brave. She thought for a moment how different she was now that she had come to live at Misselthwaite Manor. Her small candle bravely tried to fill the large corridors with light. Presently, as the anguished cries grew louder, she saw a faint light at the end of the long hallway. I will complete my mission, she said, with a quiet yet determined confidence as she pressed forward. She arrived at the dimly lit room and found nothing more than a frustrated, angry young boy having a temper tantrum. "Young man," said Mary in a very angry voice, "be quiet. Why are you making so much fuss? And who are you?" Presently, the boy quieted, and the two began a long conversation. She discovered the little boy was Master Craven's son. His name was Colin, and they clearly enjoyed each other's company. Mary learned that Colin's mother, Lily, had died shortly after he was born, and that the master could hardly look at his son because he reminded him too much of his mother. The servants were to look after him and tend to his every need, but just like Mary, when she was in India, he grew spoiled, lonely, and angry. Eventually, he became weak and sickly. He told her he was always in bed because his legs were weak and that he was starting to develop a hump on his back, just like father's. Mary looked at his legs and asked him to see his back. "I know how it is for you, Colin," said Mary. "I was just like you when I was in India, but I found out that there was really nothing wrong with me. I think you're just fine, and you need what I found here at Misselthwaite Manor." "What's that?" asked Colin. "The secret garden," was Mary's reply. So she told him everything about Dicken, Robin, Ben Weatherstaff, the key, and the secret garden. They began to devise a plan that they had to be kept secret. Using his wheelchair, they would sneak Colin into the secret garden. He could watch them as they tended the young growing things. The sun would help Colin feel better every day. And then one day soon, she and Dicken would help Colin to walk. To walk again. "My dear children," said Mrs. Medlock, who had discovered Mary in the room, "I've heard everything you said. And Colin, you look more healthy and alive than already. No matter what, you must do this." Mary asked, "Do you really think we can? Do you think we're brave enough?" "Aye," said Miss Medlock. Children played and worked in the garden almost every day, pausing only when Mrs. Medlock, who kept their secret safe, brought them lunch. She enjoyed being in the garden too, and as the children ate, she would sit on the swing that hung from one of the large trees bursting with new leaves. Thank you, children. Bless you. Mark my word, the beauty of this garden will spread through all of Misselthwaite Manor. That night, as Archibald Craven slept, the spirit of his wife Lily came to him in a dream and reminded him that she still loved him and always would. She beckoned him back to her garden, the secret garden. The garden held the promise of new life for him if he would but enter it again. He slept late into the next morning. When he awoke, he was in wonderful spirits. He washed his face in bracing cold water, put on fresh clothes, and started for the secret garden. On his way to the garden, he discovered Mrs. Medlock with a basket filled with what appeared to be a picnic lunch. "Well, good day, Mr. Craven," she said nervously. "You look very hale and hearty this morning. Out for a walk, are ye?" "Aye, Miss Medlock. I'm making a long overdue visit to the secret garden." "Lily's garden," said the master. "May I accompany you, sir?" she said, knowing full well the wonderful surprises that awaited him. "It would be my honor, Mrs. Medlock," was his cheerful reply. He then reached for the basket and carried it for her as the two strolled through the lane which led to the miraculous garden. When they got there, he was startled to see that the garden door was partly open. Mrs. Medlock just smiled at him and said, as she opened wide the door for him, "Welcome back, Mr. Craven. We have all missed you." He looked in and saw a garden as beautiful, as lovely, as transcendent as when Lily herself stood there. Actually, he knew that she was there. And the beautiful children, and Colin, his son, Colin, my son, you look changed. You look healthy again, he exclaimed. At that moment, Colin slowly, but with great resolve, stood up and walked forth from his wheelchair. He motioned for his father to stay as he, one life-affirming step after the other, walked into the master's open arms. "I love you, son," his cheerful father said as he embraced the boy. "I love you." Then Archibald Craven looked gratefully at those who were there, Mrs. Medlock, Dicken, and Mary, and said, "I love you too, my family."